Have you ever looked at your body and felt like it is changing faster than your heart can accept? Have you ever wondered why the body feels more fragile with age, yet your longing for peace feels stronger than ever? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about caring for your aging body in a way that is calm, honest, and deeply practical. Not the kind of talk that shames you for getting older, not the kind that tells you to fight time like an enemy, but the kind that helps you accept change and still care for yourself with dignity. Because here is the truth many people cannot say out loud: aging is not only happening to your body, it is happening to your relationship with your body. The body changes, yes, but the deeper suffering often comes from the mind resisting those changes. The mind that keeps comparing you to your younger self, the mind that treats wrinkles as failure, the mind that sees slower energy as weakness, the mind that believes needing rest means you are losing value. Buddhist teachings offer a different way. They do not promise that the body will stay youthful. They offer something better. They teach you how to stop making the body into a battlefield. They teach you how to turn care into practice, how to turn discomfort into wisdom, how to turn fear into compassion, how to turn the simple act of breathing into a home you can return to again and again. I want to begin with a story that feels like real life because this is a real life topic. Imagine a man named Michael. He is in his early 70s. He has always been proud of being capable. He carried groceries without thinking. He fixed things around the house. He stayed busy. He did not like asking for help. Then one day his shoulder begins to ache. It is not dramatic, but it is persistent. He ignores it at first. He tells himself it is nothing, but the ache stays. Then his sleep changes. He wakes up earlier. He feels stiff. He notices he needs more time to feel ready in the morning. At first he tries to treat this as a problem to conquer. He searches for quick fixes. He pushes through the discomfort. He tells himself that slowing down is unacceptable, but the harder he fights, the more exhausted he becomes, and something else happens. His mind begins to fear. Does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it shows up as irritability. Sometimes it shows up as worry at night. It shows up as anger at small things, because underneath is a thought he does not want to admit: my body is leading me behind. My body. One afternoon, Michael visits a friend who has been practicing Buddhist meditation for years. He expects some advice about exercises or supplements. Instead, his friend says something simple: your body is not betraying you, your body is speaking, and the question is whether you will listen with kindness or with fear. That sentence lands like a bell because Michael realizes he has been treating his body like an employee whose only job is to perform. He never thanked it. He never listened to it until it complained. He never cared for it as a relationship. He only used it. This is where Buddhist wisdom begins, not with blame but with awareness. The first thing Buddhism asks you to understand is impermanence. Everything conditioned changes. The body is conditioned. It is made of processes. It is a living river, not a statue. You cannot argue it into staying the same. When you accept this, you stop feeling personally attacked by natural change. Acceptance does not mean giving up. Acceptance means seeing clearly without clear seeing. Care becomes panic. Panic is not care. Panic is fear wearing the mask of responsibility. So what does caring for your aging body look like through a Buddhist lens? It looks like a practice of respect. It looks like a practice of listening. It looks like a practice of gentle discipline. It looks like a practice of compassion. It looks like living with wisdom about cause and effect. It looks like understanding that every choice plants a seed. I want to walk you through this as one long path that you can feel rather than as a dry explanation. When you wake up in an aging body, the first sensation might be stiffness or fatigue, or a heavy feeling in the joints, or a slow return of energy. That moment can become two very different experiences. In one experience, the mind reacts with judgment. It says, this is bad, this should not be happening. I am becoming old, I am losing my worth. That reaction heightens the nervous system, it increases stress. It makes the body feel worse. It turns a simple sensation into a story of decline. In the other experience, you meet the sensation with mindful sense. You notice it without panic. You feel it without adding a harsh story. You say quietly, stiffness is here, fatigue is here, change is here. Then you breathe and soften the parts of the body that are tensing. You give yourself time. You move slowly. You treat the morning as a ritual rather than a race. This second experience is not fantasy. It is training. It is practicing. It is exactly the kind of practice Buddhism is built for. In Buddhist teaching, the body is a field of practice. The body is where you learn about impermanence directly. The body is where you learn about craving and aversion. The body is where you learn about patience. The body is where you learn to return to the present. Many people try to escape the body when it becomes uncomfortable. They distract themselves, they numb, they pretend, they deny. They chase the feeling of youth by pushing harder, but Buddhism invites you to turn toward the body with awareness, not to obsess over it, but to be honest with it. There is a gentle truth here. The body is not only a source of pain, the body is also the doorway to peace, because the breath is in the body, the sensations are in the body. If you abandon the body, you abandon the present moment, and when you abandon the present moment, the mind will live in fear and memory. So caring for an aging body begins with coming back into it. Michael began a simple habit. Before getting out of bed, he would take 3 slow breaths. He would feel the air entering and leaving. He would notice the weight of his body on the mattress. He would relax his jaw and shoulders. He would tell himself, "I will move with respect today." At first this felt strange because he was used to jumping into action. But within weeks he noticed something. His mornings were less dense. His pain did not disappear, but his resistance decreased, and with less resistance his suffering decreased. This is one of the most important Buddhist truths. Pain may arise, but the mind does not need to add cruelty. Now let us talk about the fear of aging bodies, because fear is the loudest shadow behind this topic. Fear of illness, fear of losing independence, fear of becoming a burden, fear of losing attractiveness, fear of losing mental sharpness, fear of falling, fear of hospitals, fear of the unknown. Buddhism does not tell you to pretend these fears are silly. It asks you to see them clearly and respond skillfully. Fear is often the mind trying to control what it cannot control. It imagines future suffering and tries to solve it in advance, but it cannot, because life is uncertain. So fear becomes endless. The Buddhist response is not to chase certainty. The response is to cultivate the qualities that make you resilient even in uncertainty. These qualities are mindfulness, compassion, equanimity, and wise effort. Mindfulness helps you notice what is happening now rather than living inside imagined disasters. Compassion helps you treat yourself gently as you face vulnerability. Equanimity helps you stay balanced when conditions change. Wise effort helps you take practical steps without becoming obsessive. So caring for the aging body is both spiritual and practical. It is spiritual because it changes your relationship with change. It is practical because it includes daily choices. In Buddhism, there is deep respect for cause and effect. If you plant causes of care, you increase the chances of well-being. If you plant causes of neglect, you increase the chances of suffering. This is not moral punishment, it is simple reality. Michael started making small practical changes, but he did it from calm rather than panic. He began walking daily, not to chase a perfect body, but to keep the body alive and mobile. He began stretching gently and consistently. He began drinking more water. He began reducing the kind of stimulation that kept his nervous system tight late at night. He began eating in a way that felt nourishing rather than punishing. But the biggest change was inside. He stopped insulting himself for needing these changes. He stopped treating care as humiliation. He began reading care as devotion. This is a powerful word, devotion. Many people think devotion belongs only in religion, but devotion can be how you care for your body when you stop taking it for granted. Devotion means I will show up consistently with respect, even when I do not feel like it, even when it is boring, even when I do not see immediate results, because I understand that small actions shape the future. In Buddhist practice, this is similar to daily meditation. Use it not because every sit is bliss. Use it because practice shapes the mind over time. Caring for the body is the same. You care not because you can guarantee outcomes. You care because it is wise and kind to do so. Now I want to speak about a very sensitive part of aging body image. Many people do not talk about it openly, but it affects them deeply. The mirror changes, the face changes, the shape changes, the posture changes, and society often sends the message that beauty is youth. Buddhism offers a radical alternative. It reminds you that the body is a temporary form. It is not the seat of your worth. It is not your true identity. It is a vehicle for experience and practice. This does not mean you must stop enjoying looking good. It means you stop tying your value to appearance. You stop treating wrinkles like shame. You stop treating gray hair like failure. You stop treating softness like defeat. Instead, you begin seeing the body as evidence of life lived. The lines on the face become stories. The changes become reminders of impermanence, and impermanence becomes a teacher of gratitude. There was an older woman named Linda who used to avoid mirrors. She would see her face and feel sadness because it did not match the picture in her mind of who she was. She said, "I still feel like I am 30 inside, and the mirror feels like betrayal." Then she began practicing a Buddhist reflection each morning. She looked in the mirror and said, "Thank you for carrying me. Thank you for letting me see. Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you for letting me breathe." At first she cried because she realized she had never thanked her body. She had only judged it. Over time, her relationship with her reflection softened. She began to see beauty differently. Beauty became calm. Eyes beauty became gentle. Speech beauty became kindness, and the face beauty became the softness of someone who is forgiven. That is Buddhist beauty, not a surface that must stay young, but a heart that becomes wise. Now let us talk about another major issue in aging bodies: pain, chronic discomfort, limitation. The fear that life will become smaller. Buddhism approaches pain with mindfulness and compassion, teaches you to observe sensations directly rather than immediately turning them into catastrophic stories. When pain arises, the mind often does three things. It resists, it fears, it identifies. It says, "I hate this, I cannot handle this, this is who I am now, I am broken, I am failing." But mindfulness invites another approach. You locate the sensation, you observe its shape, its intensity, its movement. You notice whether it pulses or stays steady. You notice which parts of the body tense around it. You soften those parts if you can. You breathe into the area gently. You do not demand that it vanish, you simply meet it with awareness. This does not remove all pain, but it removes extra suffering, the suffering of panic, the suffering of hatred, the suffering of self-blame. Michael began practicing this when his shoulder hurt. Instead of clenching and cursing, he would pause, he would relax his breath. He would feel the sensation without naming it as disaster. He would ask, "What does my body need right now?" Rest, a gentler movement, a different posture, a warm shower, a medical appointment, a slower pace. This question changed everything because it turned pain into communication rather than punishment. Now we should be honest, some pain requires medical care. Buddhist wisdom is not a substitute for doctors. Buddhist practice supports wise action. It does not replace it. So caring for an aging body also means being willing to seek help without shame. Shame keeps many people from getting care. They fear being judged. They fear being weak. They fear hearing bad news, but avoidance often creates worse outcomes. Buddhism emphasizes clarity and courageous compassion. Courageous compassion includes taking practical steps. It includes checking on symptoms. It includes physical therapy when needed. It includes meditation when appropriate. It includes listening to professional advice while also listening to your own experience. Receiving help is not failure. It is interdependence, and interdependence is reality. This brings us to a deep point. Many people fear becoming a burden. The fear can become so strong that it creates bitterness or withdrawal. They refuse help, they isolate, they push people away. Buddhist teachings remind you that life is mutual. You have received help your whole life. Even if you pride yourself on independence, you were helped by teachers, by workers, by farmers, by family, by strangers. You are part of a web. Allowing others to help you is not stealing, it is giving them a chance to practice compassion, just as you practiced compassion when you helped others. When you understand this, the shame softens, and when shame softens, the body relaxes, and when the body relaxes, the mind becomes calmer. Now I want to bring in the idea of equanimity, because it is one of the most powerful Buddhist qualities for aging bodies. Equanimity means balance. It means you can face gain and loss, pleasure and pain, praise and blame, without collapsing. It does not mean you do not feel, it means you do not get destroyed by conditions. In old age, conditions change often. Health can fluctuate, energy can fluctuate, abilities can fluctuate. Equanimity helps you ride these changes without panic. Michael practiced equanimity by learning to say, "This is the body today, tomorrow may be different." He stopped treating a bad day as a prophecy. He stopped treating a good day as something to cling to. He began living with steadiness. This steadiness made him kinder. He was less reactive to family. He was less impatient with himself. He felt more spacious, even when his body was limited. Now let me tell you another story, because I want you to feel the emotional truth of this path, not just the concepts. Imagine a woman named Sarah. She is 76. She used to be very active. She loved gardening, hiking, traveling. Then arthritis slowly changed her range of motion. She could still do things, but not in the same way. She began feeling grief. She also began feeling anger. She said, "My life is shrinking." Her daughter suggested meditation. Sarah resisted. She said, "Meditation will not fix my joints," but her daughter said it might soften the suffering around them. Sarah tried a simple practice. She sat in a chair each morning and focused on breath. She noticed how quickly her mind attacked her body. She noticed the inner voice saying, "You are old, you are useless, you are finished." She realized this voice was harsher than any doctor. So she tried something new. She began practicing loving kindness toward her body. She would place her hands on her knees and say, "May you be at ease." She would place her hands on her chest and say, "May I be kind." She did not force belief. She just repeated the intention. One day while sitting, she felt tears and a deep memory rose. She remembered herself as a child with scraped knees and how her mother would gently clean the wound and whisper, "It is okay, you are okay." Sarah realized she had never offered that same gentleness to herself. As an adult, she had been demanding. She had been perfectionist. She had been hard on her own body for decades. In that moment, something shifted. She began caring for herself the way a wise mother cares for a child. Not indulgent, not careless, but tender and steady. She started adapting her life rather than grieving what she lost. She created a small garden space that was easier to manage. She used tools that reduced strain. She asked for help without shame. She took breaks without guilt. She found that she could still connect with nature even if she could not hike far. She sat outside and watched light on leaves and felt the same peace she used to feel on long trails. Her body was limited, but her heart became larger. This is a core Buddhist message. The outer world may shrink, but the inner world can expand. Now let us talk about aging and dignity. Many people fear losing dignity when the body weakens. They imagine dignity means doing everything alone, but Buddhism offers a different dignity. Dignity is presence, dignity is acceptance, dignity is kindness, dignity is truthfulness, dignity is patience. When you accept help calmly, you are dignified. When you care for your body without self-hatred, you are dignified. When you face illness with courage, you are dignified. When you speak gently, even when you are uncomfortable, you are dignified. Dignity is not physical power. It is the quality of your mind. This is why Buddhist teachings are so powerful for aging bodies, because they shift the center of identity from the body to awareness. You still care for the body deeply, but you stop making it the only measure of your worth. Now I want to address a quiet but common issue: sleep changes. In old age, people wake early, they wake at night. They feel lighter sleep, they worry about it, then the worry makes it worse. Buddhism approaches sleep with the same principles: mindfulness, compassion, letting go. A practical Buddhist-inspired approach is to stop turning wakefulness into a battle. If you wake at night, you can treat it as a moment of practice rather than a failure. You can relax the body, you can let thoughts pass, you can send loving kindness. You can rest without demanding sleep. Rest itself is valuable even if sleep is not perfect, and when you stop fighting the night, the body often falls back asleep more easily. Another issue is appetite and digestion. Changing the body becomes more sensitive again. Mindfulness helps you eat slowly, you listen to the body, you reduce its screams, you choose nourishment, you treat meals as practice rather than as distraction. Movement is also important. Many people either push too hard or stop entirely. Buddhism suggests the middle way: gentle, consistent movement that respects limits. Walking, stretching, balance exercises as appropriate. Movement becomes a meditation. You feel the feet, you feel the breath, you notice tension and soften. This is not about chasing a perfect body. It is about maintaining a kind relationship with the one you have. Now let us bring in the spiritual heart of this topic. Aging bodies remind us of mortality, and mortality can either create fear or create awakening. When you avoid mortality, you often waste time in trivial things. When you accept mortality, you often become clearer about what matters. You become more willing to forgive. You become more willing to release grudges. You become more willing to release grudges. You become more willing to simplify. You become more willing to practice. In Buddhism, the awareness of death is not meant to darken life. It is meant to make life vivid. Michael began doing a short reflection. Each morning he would say silently, "This body is changing, this life is uncertain, therefore I will live today with kindness. I will care for my body with respect. I will speak gently. I will not postpone love." This reflection changed his days. He became less impatient. He enjoyed simple moments. More he noticed beauty. More he argued. Less he felt gratitude for ordinary things like warm sunlight and a comfortable chair and a conversation that felt honest. He still had pain. He still had limitation, but he had less suffering. Now I want to share something that often creates confusion. People think acceptance means passivity. They think if I accept aging, I will stop trying to stay healthy. That is not what Buddhism teaches. Acceptance means you stop fighting reality in your mind. It does not mean you stop taking wise action. You can accept that the body changes and still exercise gently. You can accept that you may get ill and still see doctors. You can accept that energy is lower and still plan your day wisely. You can accept that you cannot do everything and still do what you can. Acceptance is the foundation of wise effort. When you accept what is true, you can act intelligently. When you deny what is true, you either panic or avoid. Both led to more suffering. So the Buddhist approach to caring for an aging body is like this. You accept impermanence. You practice mindfulness to meet sensations without panic. You practice compassion to soften harsh inner speech. You practice equanimity to stay steady through change. You practice wise effort by taking practical care without obsession. You practice generosity by allowing interdependence. You practice letting go of identity based on youth. You practice gratitude for what still functions. You practice meaning by using your days well. Now I want to bring this to the emotional core of many viewers, because many of you are not just dealing with aches, you are dealing with grief. The grief of losing abilities, the grief of losing people, the grief of losing a familiar version of yourself. Buddhism does not ask you to skip grief, it asks you to hold grief. With awareness, grief is love with nowhere to go. Grief shows what matter. Grief can become compassion when you let it soften you rather than harden you. If you feel grief about your aging body, you can place a hand on your heart and say, "This is grief, this is love, this is human." Then breathe and allow tears. If they come, tears are not weakness, they are release. And then you can ask a wise question: what is still possible with the body I have today? Maybe it is a slower walk, maybe it is gentle stretching, maybe it is dancing in a chair, maybe it is writing, maybe it is calling someone you love, maybe it is simply breathing with awareness. When you shift from what I lost to what is still here, the heart becomes lighter. Not because loss disappears, but because gratitude begins balancing grief. Now let us close with a message that feels like something you can carry into tomorrow morning. If you are caring for an aging body, please remember your body is not your enemy, it is your companion. It has carried you through years you do not even remember. It has survived stress, it has healed wounds, it has kept you breathing through joy and sorrow. It deserves respect, not judgment. Caring for it is not vanity. It is not weakness, it is practice, it is compassion, it is wisdom. And if you are afraid of what is coming, you do not need to solve the whole future tonight. You only need to care for this moment. You only need to take one wise step. You only need to breathe and soften and listen. Before we end, I want to ask you something gentle. When you notice your body changing, what is the first thought you usually have, and what would it feel like to replace that thought with a kinder one? Share your experience in the comments. If you feel comfortable, share what helps you accept change. Share what practice brings you peace. Your story can help someone else who feels alone in their aging process. If this video helped you, please support the channel by subscribing, liking, and commenting. It helps more people find calm wisdom when they need it most. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take one slow breath. Feel your shoulders soften. Feel your jaw relax. Feel your body supported by whatever you are sitting on. And remember, you do not have to win against aging. You only have to live with awareness, kindness, and wise care. Until next time, be gentle with your changing body, be patient with your changing mind, and keep coming home to peace.